رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله يا غريب كربلاء. رزقنا الله في الدنيا زيارتكم وفي الدنيا وفي القبر وفي الآخرة شفاعتكم. أما بعد، يقول الله في محكم كتابه وقرآنه المجيد وقوله الحق. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما يؤمن أكثرهم بالله إلا وهم مشركون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, we are praying for all of the majalis, not only in this city but all across the globe. Inshallah, as we know in our aqidah, Fatima al-Zahra, salamullah alayha, as the majlis starts, she walks in, right? And she is sitting in our presence. This is not just hyperbole or metaphor. This is something that we sincerely believe in. This series is meant to be a continuation of my 2023 Muḥarram series on death and barzakh. And in the barzakh realm, it is there we believe that the arwah of the Ahl-ul-Bayt as well as the mu'mineen are. And over there, they are not constrained to time and space like how we are here in the material third dimension world. And so it's completely possible for Sayyidah Fatima to be in her grave, to be all around the world, to be in barzakh. And not only her, but also a sister. Sayyidah Zainab is here as well. Imam Hussein alayhi salam is here as well. And so with that, I begin with condolences to Sahib al-Zaman, to Rasulullah and the Ahl-ul-Bayt, salamallah alayhim, and to the entire Muslim Ummah on these tragic nights that we are about to embark on together, where the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the manzilat al-wahi, the place where wahi came down, this household, that was the one that was taken to the slaughterhouse, to the altar, and no drop of blood was respected. This is the commemoration of those nights. Inshallah, we will be talking tonight and for the next successive nights on a theme. And inshallah, this is aimed to be a series. Tonight, inshallah, we will be talking about the matrix and the shirk of Muslims. At the outset, I recited an ayah, and those keen-eared knew that it was from Surah Yusuf, right? And Prophet Yusuf's story is one that we'll be revisiting in the upcoming nights many times. This ayah says, I won't repeat the Arabic, but the English approximately says, most of them do not believe in Allah except with some shirk. Oh, then now we have a problem. We have been taught ever since we were young that what? Shirk is لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. Surah Luqman, صح? This is the greatest of all of the sins. So if all of us are being implicated in this ayah, that most of them do not believe except that there is some shirk mixed in with their beliefs, then we are committing the ultimate sin. So this is not something that we can just fly over while we're reciting the Quran once a year, maybe in Shahr Ramadan. Or if we, probably again in Shahr Ramadan, if we see the Yuzar Sif series, yes, and now we're like, I think it's time we actually pick up the Quran and we read Surah Yusuf, right? It's those times of the year that we actually see this kind of an ayah. That's not really acceptable for the Shia of a man who, and I know this is not the 21st of Ramadan, but on a night like the 21st of Ramadan, I usually narrate Imam Ali alayhi salam saying, one of his wills, which is to us, the Shias, let no one take precedence over you in mastery of Kitabullah. No one should have more mastery over Quran than us, you and I, brothers and sisters. And I don't know about you, but my state with the Quran, I can admit, is shameful. I'm not proud, and I don't think my Imam should be proud of where I am with the Quran. So inshallah, there will be a very heavy emphasis on Quran in these upcoming nights. And I know this is not usually the season for Quran, but bear with me because this type of a message is of the utmost importance. Especially with what's happening in the world for the last couple of years, for the last couple of weeks, for the last couple of days. We don't know how far away we are from some of those prophesized hadiths, from some of those things we are promised in the Quran. So such messages in these nights are of the utmost importance when our whole community gathers together. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In the West these days, The Matrix is usually known as a movie. If you go and start saying, oh, we live in the Matrix, this means different things to different people. If you say it to someone who's more business-minded, they'll say, yes, of course we live in the Matrix, right? We live underneath whatever economic system the system wants to put us underneath. We'll go to work 9 to 5, we won't even question it. We accept Saturdays and Sundays as our time off, and then we go religiously back to work on Monday morning. If you go and ask people in Hollywood, they'll say that it's a best-selling film, trilogy. I don't know about the other two, but at least one best-selling film. If you go and ask others, people who actually believe in this from Gen Z today, they will have another name for it, and they call this simulation theory. Now, what is simulation theory? Simulation theory basically says, and I know that we have some technical minds here with us tonight, right? And this is the generation where our kids, mashallah, are very tech savvy. This theory, simulation theory, essentially comes and says that this layer of reality, what we experience on a day-to-day basis, this is not real. This is not base reality. There is something behind the scenes that is actual reality, just like in the movie The Matrix, where we are quote unquote in pods. They're not going to say that we're in pods, but we're somewhere else. And this is not the real life. And to some extent, I see what they're saying. And we'll go over tonight a couple of the proofs that the secularists, quantum physicists, philosophers, scientists, what they offer as proof that the simulation theory is real. And then we'll come with the Islamic understanding, because there are some understandings of simulation theory that are very depressing. And we'll start off with that. What exactly do we mean when we say simulation theory? Simulation theory does not mean that this is all just a video game and we're here and nothing counts. Like that this is not a Kleenex box, this is not a table, right? Clearly, something is here, this is a physical thing, and I can use it. They'll say, but there's something else, because we see shifts in reality. Not everything works all the time, 100% of the time. We say, okay, we agree with you. This is a valid observation. So now what are you going to do with your conclusion? They say, well, based on this, we say that life as it is right now is not very enjoyable. I don't know what kind of things are going on in the world. First we have a pandemic, then we have an economy that's going to hell in a handbasket. Then we have, I don't know what else, World War III. This cannot be real. Something is off, this cannot be real life. You say, okay, so then what are you going to do? Well, since nothing matters, I'm just going to sit in my parents' basement and I'm going to play video games because nothing matters. And for nihilistic thinking teens, right? And I see some of our youth who are smiling at their parents. Inshallah, you guys play video games, but not to the extent that I just mentioned, right? Where all you do your whole entire life, morning, evening, noon, and night, is video games. But what I'm seeing, and what many of you are seeing, is that young and old alike, there are many who are coming to this gloomy realization that nothing matters. On my flight into Las Vegas, and I'm honored to be here amongst you doing khidmah of Abu Abdullah. Are we sure the sound is okay? Sallu ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. The feedback, I'm not sure what that is. Is this too close? The sound is fine. Yeah, but there's a little bit of feedback. Sallu ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. ثانية على حب الزهراء. الثالث بأعلى الأصوات لصاحب العصر والزمان. اللهم صل على محمد. So where were we? We were talking about Islam or something, right? The flight in. My flight in to Las Vegas, they give you the choice of a movie, right? And I had been putting this off for a while, and I don't recommend watching this movie, and I won't even mention the movie. But something of this exact same messaging was in there. And they had to fight this nihilistic way of thinking, right? Like in all of the multiverse, if everything is just a random arrangement of strings in string theory, or a random arrangement of particles, then who cares? For these 70 to 80 years that you're here in this world, who cares what you do? None of it is of any consequence. This is the ideology of those who don't believe in akhirah. And I don't blame them. But is there any truth to this multiversal concept? Is there any truth to this simulation theory concept? Is there truth to a version where it's not so bleak and so depressing? Inshallah, over the next few nights I will be making the argument, yes, and I believe the argument is ironclad, but you are left to your own beliefs at the end of the day. When we come to movies in Hollywood, they used to touch on this quite a lot. And even today, recently, there was a movie with Ryan Reynolds. It was called Free Guy. This one I don't mind mentioning, right? Now this one, you're in a video game. He's literally in a video game. But as soon as you start wearing sunglasses, now you're not one of those characters in the video game who you just interact with and you have one or two lines. Now you are actually a character that you can play. Now you have superpowers. Now you can interact in the world. So I want you to keep that concept of the sunglasses in your mind, because we're going to come back to it because it's a very good analogy. We, however, are going to see that in the Quran as well, we have this wording once again, that this world is a game. Well, where do we see that? In Surah Al-An'am, don't we read, وَمَا حَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَعِبْ وَلَهُ? Right? In another place, and we'll come to this in the upcoming nights as well, and maybe a little bit towards the end of the lecture as well, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ, or gharur, yes. That it is a tool of deception. So now what are we supposed to understand and think of this reality that we live in day to day? Well, I'll tell you. we see that secularists, atheists, they also offer proof, and they're becoming very interested in this as well. This has been the study for a couple of decades, but Elizabeth Kluger-Ross has been studying near-death experiences. That basically, once someone dies, they see something when they go there. And we discussed this even when we were discussing the barzakh topics, that there are things beyond this life. Fine. But what about what the atheists have been talking about for the last year? Well, what exactly is that? They're saying, they're coming out with this theory that all things in the universe has a consciousness. All things in the universe have some level of sentience, that it can respond to thought. And they come with actual evidence. These are people who they still don't believe in God, but they can't deny the evidence of their own research. They've spent hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars into this research, and now they're coming and they're saying that this is very interesting, that even at the subatomic molecular level, you have consciousness. How do we explain this? Why is it there? We used to think that we were alone in the universe as conscious creatures, right? Even animals, they wouldn't really say that they're conscious. They have some level of consciousness, but not to the level of humans, and not to the level of their intellect. Now they're reversing their track, and they're saying everything has consciousness. And they say this has to do with the design of this universe. This has to do with how the universe operates with us. That sometimes the way that we operate with the universe gives us something back. And this is something that we see throughout most major religions. In Hinduism, we have the concept of karma, right? Karmic Veda. This karmic samsara cycle of rebirth, right? What is the actual concept over here? That if you put out good energy, good emotions, good positive energy into the universe, good things will come back to you, right? Essentially. You have Christians who have also the golden rule. The golden rule is basically what? Do unto others as you would have done unto you. We have basically that in Surah An-Nahl, right? We have idfa' billati hiya ahsan, right? Don't go and take things too seriously. Respond in a way that is better, essentially. Why? Because then what will come back to you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be much better. When you look at it from the financial perspective, you have something even over here too. You have multiple imams. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, for example, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Is asked by one of his sons that, hey, Baba, we're a little bit short on money. And we're going to be talking in the upcoming nights on rizq as well. We're a little bit short on money. And I believe this was either Ismail or Abdullah al-Aftah. Okay? And they come up to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and they say, we're not doing so well on money. He says, okay, well, how much do we have? We have about 40 dinar. Okay, give it all away in sadaqah. What? What do you mean give it all away in sadaqah? He said, no, trust me. He says, okay. A couple of days later, maybe a week or two later, they get 4,000. Either 400 or 4,000, whatever the Rawaya says. But he gets a multiple fold and he says, look at the tijara with Allah. You give him 40, he gives you 400 or 4,000. So dunya doesn't work in the conventional laws and the ways that we usually think that it is. Conventional thinking would suggest, what? If I go and lose all of my money, then what am I going to do? Conventional thinking, even in the 9-to-5 thinking, is I have to save every penny. Yeah? But what does a wiser person, someone who's a little bit more well off, what do they say? No. Let go of some of the money, invest it. Cool. What is exactly sadaqah? Isn't that just transferring it from your dunya bank account into your akhirah bank account? Isn't that what our parents told us all the time? But we don't have the iman in the ghaib. All we see and all we worry about, all that keeps on bugging us every single day is, what is my bank account? What is my checking account? What is my savings account? What does it say? You don't care about the akhirah because that, inshallah, right? We'll deal with that when we get to like 70, 80. Then we'll do Hajj. Then we'll do ziyarah. Then we'll do madri shinu. I don't know what else we have planned for those old ages. La. Imam al-Jawad, salamullah alayhi, what age does he die? 25? Yeah? How many of us are older than 25? How many of us are older than when Imam al-Jawad became Imam of the time, 9 years old? Probably every one of us except for those 2-3 boys in the back who aren't listening anymore. Right? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. But do you see my point? We're told one thing in the religion, we believe and act on something else. If your beliefs don't translate into action, what good is that belief? Do you really believe it? If you're not actually willing to die for that belief, what are we here for Ashura for? What did this man, Abu Abdullah, what did he do? He had this belief that my grandfather came with something worthwhile, something worth saving. And if I don't go and make the ultimate sacrifice, no one will be able to experience this religion. He believed in it, and therefore he died for it. We don't even believe in sadaqah that much. I don't know, you tell me, the organizers over here, how good is your fundraising? How good is your sadaqah? Keep the answers to yourself. We don't want to expose anybody or any community. Bas hasibu ala nafsikum. Have that accounting on yourself before Yawm al-Qiyamah comes. You and I don't believe, brothers and sisters, not the way how the Ahl-ul-Bayt believed, not the way how those shuhada believed. Oh, those guys, when they heard a human being's lips, who usually talks normal things, then all of a sudden he starts reciting miraculous words, Quran. Their lives are changed. They're willing to go and sacrifice their families. They're willing to go and sacrifice everything. How? How did they do that? Because they realize the miracle. They understand the message. You and I, brothers and sisters, we don't understand the message. We don't understand the miracle. The miracle, by the way, we say it's preserved, and it is preserved. What's the miracle? The miracle is no longer visual. It's not the asa of Musa. It's not Isa alayhi salam raising the dead or healing the lepers and the blind. Now it's not visual, it's auditory. It's heard. What is that audible miracle? Ayatun muhkamat, right? These ayat, these beautiful signs of Allah, this should be the miracle and the message. Unfortunately for us, our qulub, like the Bani Israel used to say, fi akinnatin. They are in a sleeve. We don't want to hear. Yeah, sure, we want to hear, but come on, give us something interesting. So now, inshallah, it's my job to make things interesting again. Inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Here, I want to go and bring in an extra thread into this conversation. The Christians have something similar to what I'm about to talk about for simulation theory. What did I just say from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam in so many words? Have tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That when you trust Him, then the ayah of Surah Dhariyat comes true. وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ. But we don't read the Quran, and when we read it, we're like, okay, yeah, that's nice, maybe for someone else, maybe for Rasulullah, when he goes and makes dua, but for me, I have to go to work. I have to go and look after my investment. I have to. You take so much burden on yourself that you actually think you can change this reality. La. You are weak. You have no control. Remember the words of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen when he comes to dua kumail. What does he say is your only weapon? Dua. You have nothing but dua. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam comes and says that I am the biggest faqir, I am the biggest poor person. Why? Because he realizes that every single moment he is dependent on Allah. Now the Christians have something similar. Now I don't even know what the tune is, but I've seen it in enough Facebook memes. This is back when Facebook used to be the thing, right? That pretty much dates me right there. But what is that one lyric that they used to put in all of the memes? Jesus, take the wheel. Sah? You guys have heard of this, at least hopefully, right? If you guys haven't, then mashallah, Las Vegas is doing much better than Dearborn, I can tell you right now. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. But it's not Jesus take the wheel and I'll backseat drive. It's Jesus take the wheel, right? And this brings us to the next part of our conversation. Why did I choose these lectures for these nights, for this year? In Christianity, one of the most important concepts is the second coming of Christ. Sah? Sah wala la? Yes. Even for us, Nabi Isa alayhi salam coming back is very important. But for them, of course, he's a little bit more important than just a prophet. They think he's Son of God, or we'll leave them to and their denominations to work that one out. But they say that he has to come back because it's said in the Bible. Okay. Now there are two camps. And this has been a debate ever since at least the time of Paul. Paul comes and he believes, don't even get married because Jesus is coming now. Why? Because he comes to Caiaphas when he's being tried and he says, you will see the Son of Man come on the clouds. Well, Caiaphas died, right? Pontius Pilate died. Jesus didn't come back. But Paul had the iman that we unfortunately don't have. We don't have that iman. But Paul is like, Jesus is coming. He's coming. Don't even get married. Because what's the point of having another generation of kids? He's coming. Then we come a little bit forward, fast forward into history, we come to St. Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas, and this is, by the way, remember, back then there wasn't Protestants, there was just Catholics. So Thomas Aquinas sets the de facto philosophy of the second coming. And the vast majority of Christians believe in this. They believe in premillennialism. Okay, well, what does that mean? In the book of Revelations, Jesus is supposed to be associated with 1,000 years of peace or 1,000-year rule. So, pre-millennialists say, okay, God will come whenever he wants to go, because they believe that Jesus is God. Sah? We don't believe he's God. But he will come whenever he comes. He has a plan. You don't go and question the plan. You don't try to go and fulfill the prophecies yourself. He'll come when he comes. Which means that the other camp is who? The post-millennialists. This is now known in modern academia as dispensationalism or dispensationalists. What do they believe? Well, they believe the exact opposite. They say, look, we have all of the signs of the end of times. We have all of the prophecies. We want Jesus to come back. Therefore, we have to make these prophecies come true. Those dispensationalists then came in the 1800s, and they made the first, you could call it the first study Bible. And this is called the Schofield Bible. It's still in production today. This is the first Bible which is translated, and then in the hasha, in the hamish, the footnotes, you have commentary also added that this is how you interpret the verse. That when it says, those who bless Abraham, right, will be blessed, they're like, what this means is those who bless the Jews, those who bless Israel will be blessed. The Schofield Bible then comes and starts informing people's politics. Now, religion and politics have an unholy marriage. And so now, this belief, this is almost a religion now, that we want Jesus Christ back. So therefore, we have to go and make these prophecies come true. Well, what happens as soon as they get into power? You tell me what's been happening since the 1980s. What's happened to the Middle East? Now you know why America is so obsessed with that agenda, with the pro-Zionist agenda. Because one of the prophecies is that Israel has to be in power over greater Israel, which you guys have probably already heard. This is their end goal. And the entire world has to be against Israel. Then and only then Jesus Christ will come back. Now, the appeal of this school of thought is this is the prediction of some game theorists as well as geopoliticians, is going to explode in the coming years. Why? Why? When you see on your YouTube feed, on your TikTok feed, the number of kids who are being butchered in this genocide, and let's not mince words, it is a genocide. This is what the International Criminal Court calls it. When you have all of this front and center on your slab of technology, whatever it is, the iPad, the iPhone, right? I'm not going to mention Android, don't worry, inshallah, right? But when you have all of that, why would you ever go towards this ideology? You know why? Because when the economy is going bad, when your whole life is going bad, you can't get married, you can't get a job, AI is taking over everything. Guess what actually is your only hope in life? When you read the Bible and Jesus says about Caesar, don't worry, when I come back, I'm going to make poverty extinct. Exactly what we have about Sahib al-Zaman, right? يَمْلَأُ الْأَرْضُ قِسْطًا وَعَدْلًا كَمَا مُلِئَتْ ظُلْمًا وَجَوْرًا. They believe the same thing about Jesus. Well, who wouldn't want that? So it's okay, let them do, we'll turn a blind eye. Let them do whatever they need to do. And then, when Jesus comes, the whole world will be against them, and then, khalas. So, I haven't gone too much into the theology, but it is my understanding that this is why it's called dispensational, because they're going to dispense of their partners once they don't need them anymore. This is open history. This was popularized not by Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas has the other school of thought. And it's not the subject of this lecture to go into who brought this dispensationalist thought, but I'll give you his name. You all know his name, but from a completely different area of life. This man's name is Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton, the father of calculus, is the inventor of this religious way of thinking within Christianity. So now that we've touched on how we got to the modern day, do you understand how this war is not a kinetic war for us? For us, it's a war of ideas. We don't want this destructive ideology, yes, which is going to suck in many people who are unfortunately helpless, who have no better alternative in life, who everything has failed them. We don't want them to turn to that. We want to offer Islam as the alternative. Because Surah Al-Kahf will come and say, Ya Rasulullah, you see the athar of this, right? وَيُنذِرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدًا مَا لَهُم بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ وَلَا لِآبَائِهِمْ كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا. Ya Rasulullah, you are tantamount, you are liable to worrying yourself to death, because if they don't accept this hadith, this discourse, this Quran, and leave that ideology, you see the footsteps, the athar, the destructive leftovers in world history, because of course he has the basira to go and see into the future, but also he sees where this train track is leading towards. He sees where it's leading towards, right? So Allah has to come in the Quran and reassure him that don't worry, Quran will be there, the Imams will be there, you don't worry. You just do your job right now. This ideology was such a dangerous ideology in the mind of Rasulullah that he almost worried himself to death. And we don't even know what we're fighting against. This is a war not of kinetic warfare, but of ideological. And so, our series is not going to be endorsing dispensationalism, because we also have a savior who we are waiting for. Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, Ajjalallahu ta'ala faraj al-Sharif. And we also sometimes have this debate, not to that level, of course, but should we try to make these prophecies come true, or should we just wait for the prophecies to come true by themselves? Right? It's a conversation to have. Now, we of course aren't going to go to either extreme, because this, you can see, is the logical extreme of, well, we have to go and make sure Jesus comes back. We want peace and justice and equity to be ruling, right? We want him to be ruling, right? Hey, Muslims, why do you guys not want Jesus to come back? I thought you guys loved him, right? This is the ideology. Because remember, at the end of the day, everyone, وَزُيِّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُم, right? Shaitan makes their deeds look beautiful to them. How do you justify something like this? Well, we're doing it because we really need Jesus back. We've been waiting a long time. We can't afford the bills. We can't afford the gas prices. We can't afford the Costco. We can't afford the materialism, the hedonism. Only Jesus can save us. Then I can have my iPhone 17, inshallah. And all of my nice creature comforts, right? Because they think that when Jesus comes and he's going to eradicate poverty, everyone is going to be at the same level. Everyone will be rich. Now, when Sahib al-Zaman comes back, there will not be poverty. There will still be, people who are more well off and less well off, but no one will be struggling. But now we come to Islam. Well, what does Islam say, right? Well, Islam says, now that we've talked about Surah Al-Kahf, we've talked about what dispensationalism has led to in the modern day. Now I can kind of, at least for me, you guys tell me if you see it too. What did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as soon as the Sahaba in Medina, they came back from Khandaq, he says, you guys have just dealt with the Jihad al-Asghar. Jihad al-Asghar? We just were out for a month. We were fighting out all of the Ahzab of the Quraysh and all of their confederates. And no. This is not the Jihad al-Akbar. Ya Rasulullah, what is the Jihad al-Akbar? Go ahead, Ya Jama'ah, tell me, what is the Jihad al-Akbar? Bismillah. Jihad al-Nafs. Why is it Jihad al-Nafs? Let's look at some ayat. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Our interpretation of simulation theory, of the matrix, is going to be guided by the ayats of the Quran. So we'll start off with this ayah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And feel free to recite it along with me. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه. What does نبتليه mean? Comes from ibtila, doesn't it? What kind of a test is ibtila? وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي قال لا ينال عهد الظالمين. That same ibtila? Yeah, that same ibtila. Right? Which kind of ibtila? The one that the root word, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam, tomorrow or the day after, on that night, when he comes and says, does this land have any other names? They say it is also called karbun wa bala. And he says, may Allah save us from karb and bala. That bala, what does bala even mean? Let's go to the linguistic meaning. Bala doesn't just mean a test, a severe test. Bala is also a blessing. You know the Western saying of it's a blessing in disguise? Yeah? That is exactly what a bala is. You go through a huge test, but you have to see it as a blessing because there is a huge blessing waiting for you. When Ibrahim went through his ibtila, what did he get? Imama. When we go through our ibtila, nabtalihi, inshallah, what do we get at the end? Inshallah, firdaus al-a'la. Inshallah, the qurba of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as near as possible to Muhammad and al-Muhammad, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. But this is bala, this is ibtila. That there is a test that you have to go through. And once you get through that test, you have to see it as a blessing, and then you can see the full picture, the equation. So now this whole entire life, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? He says, okay, خَلَقْنَاهُ مِن نُطْفَةٍ أَمْشَاجٍ نَبْتَلِيهِ. What's the next word? What's the next? It's a harf. What's the next word? Fa. Now, Ahl-ul-Lugha, the Nahwiyin, the grammarians, they call this fa as-sababiyya. Fa as-sababiyya, yani, basically, if this, then that. So, okay, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to test you, then fa, now what is he going to say? Fa ja'alnahu sami'an basira. That is mind-blowing. Why? Because now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the platform of the test. Remember, what did I say? The matrix, the simulation theory. It's not as gloomy. How do we understand it? Through this ayah as stepping stone number 1. That you are in a test. This is not the real world. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? وَمَا حَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغَرُورِ. It's not anything except for لَعِبٌ وَلَهْوٌ وَزِينَةٌ وَتَفَاخُرٌ بَيْنَكُمْ وَتَكَاثُرُ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنْفُسِ. Okay, that's dunya. وَإِنَّ الْآخِرَةِ لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانِ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. But the akhirah, that is actual life. That is true living, if only they knew. Inshallah, in a couple of nights, when we advance a little bit further into this concept, we'll recite another ayah as well. يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. So now, we've been given the platform of the test. The platform of the test is سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. That my hearing and my seeing are the test. يعني, the way how I have been conditioned in this world, all of my senses, it's not that this is not a Kleenex box, brothers and sisters. It's not that this is not a table. It's that it's like a mirage. It's like, if I were to go and say, and this is where the saying comes from, if I were to go and give you glasses, and those glasses were tinted green. And let's say, and I know you guys don't even know what snow is because you guys are in the desert, right? But where I come from in Michigan, right? Haram, right? Like 6-7 months of the year we have to live with snow, right? Astaghfirullah, you know, I'll accept your condolences in the later part. You guys snow once in a while? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. But snow, if I go and point it to you and you're wearing these green covered or tinted glasses or orange covered or tinted glasses, what color are you going to see? Are you going to see white? What color are you going to see? Who's saying blue? Green tinted glasses equals green snow. Orange colored glasses equals orange snow. I didn't mention blue at all, but maybe if you're monochromatic or if you're, colorblind or something like that, then inshallah, tinted glasses won't help anything, I think, right? I think those were found out to be a scam. وصلوا على محمد وآل محمد. So there is snow. It's just you're not seeing it in total reality. There is a lower level, a base reality, simulation theory says. This is not it. Something else is controlling what's happening over here. The universe just does not make total sense. And inshallah, tomorrow night when we're discussing the forms and instruments, we'll look at examples. Not just from our religious history, in our day-to-day lives as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When shaitan doesn't want you guys to connect with the ideas that I'm saying, he starts messing with the tech, right? And I think it doesn't need saying, we're in the city of shaitan, right? We're in Las Vegas, so I think that's maybe why he has so much control over the tech. But inshallah, bi barakati salati ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, we'll continue. Do we see any other ayat that also support this understanding of فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا, right? Because this is a lot to go and hinge upon a single fa as-sababiyya. صح? Well, Quran also comes in Surah Qaf. And what does he say in Surah Al-Qaf? He says, لَقَدْ كُنْتَ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مِنْ هَذَا فَكَشَفْنَا عَنْكَ غِطَاءَكَ فَبَصَرُكَ الْيَوْمَ حَدِيدٌ. You were in complete ghafla about all of this. Now we have uncovered the veil. What veil, Ya Allah? Sami'an Basira, that veil? Yes. Now you can see true reality. What is true reality? We'll come to that in one of the future nights as well. But for now, know that there is a veil. Know that what you are being conditioned from society, from your parents, from your family, from your job, from your media, from every single input that is coming into these inputs, the Sami'an Basira, you have been lied to, my dear brothers and sisters. Idhan, if we can't fully trust our senses, what can we really trust? Is there anything that we can confidently say has actually touched or corresponded or actually had communion with reality, that we can actually trust, that we can actually, with our sami'an closed, we shut out all of the loud noise of dunya, we go and cover our eyes of all of the noise and the distraction. What can I blindly and deafly follow and know that this is true? No one? Wahi. Wahi. Quran and Ahl-ul-Bayt. That comes from outside of this system. It's from sama. It's samawi, right? It's not dunyawi. Ahl-ul-Bayt do not originate from this dunya. When you read Ziyarat Jamia Kabira, you read that their khalq is nur, right? They were the malaikat al-muqarrabeen, the mursaleen, everybody knows their maqam. They don't try to go above and beyond them. This is Ahl-ul-Bayt that we're talking about. This comes from somewhere else. And Quran, that doesn't even come from the seventh heaven, does it? That comes straight from Lawh al-Mahfuz. This comes from, right, عند ذي سدرة المنتهى. This is coming from Allah Himself. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you these two, and they're telling you something, then you have to do nafi of the senses and ithbat of the wahi. You have to go and completely trust and hold on to that urwatul wuthqa, lan fisama laha. You have to go and hold on, where one end is in this earth and the other end is in the sama. And one interpretation of this is that Hablullah al-Mateen is Quran, and the other is that it is Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. Are there any other ayat? And forgive me if I go just a little bit over time, but there's so much to cover. And inshallah, whatever I don't cover tonight, we'll let it go into the next nights, because this is fluid. It's not set in stone that this is only the night for the matrix and the shirk of the Muslims. But do you see why I call this also the shirk of the Muslims? Because we have to understand where our shirk is. Are you starting to see that if you don't have that tawakkul, and you have tawakkul on something that's a mirage, that's not there, then that is an idol. That is not something solid. It's not there. How can you go and put your trust? How can you go and step on something that is immaterial? It's liquid. It's not solid. It's not mazboot. It's not there. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. In the upcoming nights, inshallah, we'll touch on this a little bit more. One of the final ayahs I want to go and cover before we go to Musa'ib is the 7th ayah of Surah Al-Kahf, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا مَا عَلَى الْأَرْضِ زِينَةً لَهَا لِنَبْلُوَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Right? وَإِنَّ لَجَاعِلُ مَا عَلَيْهَا صَعِيدًا جُرُزًا. We have made everything as decorative, as a distraction, as a shiny object syndrome. Now everything looks, wow, this is so interesting, this is so, and then you become distracted from the one. But I'll tell you this, I'll give you this analogy. We have technology, right? We have a lot of people who are in the tech sector. Okay. Well, when I want to watch YouTube, I have so many different things that I can watch, yes? I have so many different things that can distract me. If I want to go and watch a movie, let's say it's, I don't know, give me a movie that's out right now, or a halal movie. Muhammad Rasulullah, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. But if I go and tell my kid, you see Abu Talib over there? You see the name of his actor, right? Whatever it is, right? In the Yuzar Sif, I think it's Mustafa, whatever, right? Mustafa, right? Baba, you see Mustafa over there? Okay, bring him to me. Now my kid doesn't know any better. He'll go and walk up to the TV, and what will he do? He'll go and try to touch it, and then what does he find? Sorry about my fingerprints on your tech. But he sees this. The actual reality of the tech. It's just a glass screen. Everything else is just images being broadcast to you. It's just being portrayed to you. All that's actually there in reality is the one. That's all there is. We'll talk about that as well. But all of these things, where do they originate from? What gives them even the power to continue to exist? Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. Qayyum how? Because He is giving everything its ability to exist. Everything at the end of the day, فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. We'll talk about that. That has its own separate night. But this, brothers and sisters, this is the only reality. Once you start to realize that, once you have tawakkul on Allah, then you see how easy it becomes for Imam Hussein alayhi salam to go and lose his 6-month-old infant. And tonight we're not discussing even the 6-month-old infant. But he comes and says, Ma hawwana bi what? What makes it easier for me is what? That Allah is watching? Okay, I understand you a little bit better now, Abu Abdullah. Otherwise, how in the world do you lose a 6-month-old infant? Ek masoom bacha, right? In Urdu. The tifl al-radi'. How do you lose that and then you still have the khulug to go and fight fi sabilillah? How many of us, when it comes to Hajj, start cursing Allah? I just did Jamarat, now He wants me to go and do another tawaf called Tawaf an-Nisa. The kinds of things people say at Hajj, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. At Hajj, in the sacred land. Right? You can see how bugged shaitan is with these messages. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We'll come to Nabi Ibrahim in another night because we don't have time. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also has a kid that he loses. He has a few kids that he loses. Qasim, Ibrahim, Abdullah. And when they came to him and they said, oh look, the eclipse happened because your son died. He says, no, the sun and the moon don't do things based off of the deaths of human beings. And someone in the family came and said, I wish that Ibrahim or Qasim, whichever son it was, I wish that he had stayed with us a little bit longer. And what does Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam famously reply? He says, the eyes weep, but the tongues will not say anything that is disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we will miss you dearly, O Qasim. Right? This prophet who is at the head of the household of Ahl-ul-Bayt. You want to talk about Ahl-ul-Bayt coming from outside of this universe to come and guide us? This prophet is the rahmatul lil alameen, to all nations, to all generations, to all races. And he has to go and lose his son? So that we can go and learn a lesson from that? That, I'm not supposed to, in times of grief, talk about Allah like that? But even then, Rasulullah loses his kid, yet there are still hundreds of thousands of people at Hajj every single year who are cursing Allah because they don't want to go and walk a little bit more. What kind of a shukr is that? Jazakallah alfa jaza, Rasulullah. Yeah, thank you for everything, but I'm still going to go and curse who? Who am I going to curse with this tongue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made? Allah Himself. Explain that to me. Rasulullah loses this child. Jibreel comes to him and says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is offering you the option. And I don't know if this is poetry or if this is history, but the riwayah is there. And he says, you can either keep your 2 sons or you can have your 2 sons, Hassan and Hussein. He says, I choose Hassan and Hussein. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, towards the end of Rabi al-Awwal, has to leave Medina. And he is brought into the governor's palace, and Walid ibn Utbah says to him, you have to go and give the bay'ah to the new Amir al-Mu'mineen. Muawiyah has just died. Yazid is the new Khalifa. Give us your bay'ah. Imam Hussein alayhi salam says what? He says it would be so much better, don't you think, if I gave my bay'ah in public? Why should I do it in private? Marwan ibn al-Hakam is there too. He says, that's a great idea. Let's do it in public tomorrow morning. Walid says, do it now, otherwise you will not get a second chance. If he doesn't give you bay'ah now, kill him. Abu Abdullah has left a few of Banu Hashim at the doorstep. Amongst them is Qamar Bani Hashim, Abu Fadl Abbas. He says, if I raise my voice, come immediately. They say, if you don't give us your bay'ah, Hussein, we'll kill you. He raises his voice. And who's going to kill me? You, Walid, or this one, Marwan? He's going to kill me. They back down eventually. Banu Hashim enters. Imam Hussein is able to leave without having given bay'ah. He lives to see another day. Walid comes and says, you should have gotten the bay'ah, because now you will not get his bay'ah unless there's huge bloodshed. He says, you want me to go and have the blood of Hussein on my sword? Whoever kills Hussein will be cursed in this life and the akhirah. This is who saying it? Marwan ibn al-Hakam. Allahu Akbar. Marwan ibn al-Hakam is saying, I dare not kill Imam Hussein. And who does his son end up coming and killing? Imam Zain al-Abidin. Allahu Akbar. That's the folly of this dunya. You trust dunya just a little bit too much, and then dunya shows you its true colors. Ghurri ghairi, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, right? Go try to fool someone else, not me. So Rasulullah is buried there in Medina, and according to Shaykh Saduq in his Amali, Imam Hussein alayhi salam comes immediately after that encounter to the grave of his Jad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. And Amali al-Saduq says that the grave lit up. And he starts talking to Rasulullah. He says, Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. I am Hussein, the son of Ali, your grandson, through your daughter Fatima. And Allah knows that it pains me that I don't want to leave you. And you know better than anyone how this ummah has treated me. I have no other options. I have to leave now. Right? Because remember, he still has to go off of the pretense that Kufa wants him. Muslim al-Aqid is still alive, at least for now. Walid ibn Utbah had sent spies to go and look after Imam Hussein alayhi salam. If you don't mind, let's dim the lights. He went and sent spies to go and look and see what Imam Hussein alayhi salam was doing. Until then, they thought Imam Hussein has left Medina, and they're thanking their lucky stars that we don't have to go and have to kill Hussein. Yes, he didn't give us bay'ah, but we don't want to deal with this. So now, he goes back home, and then next night he also comes back to Rasulullah. This is the famous one, where now he goes and sleeps and he sees a dream. Here he sees Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi hugging him and saying, Hussein, soon you will be joining us. Soon you will be with us. Your mother, your father, your brother, your uncle, and your father's uncle. Who is his uncle and who's his father's uncle? Well, his uncle is Ja'far al-Tayyar, and his father's uncle is Hamza. All of them miss you. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, in a moment of emotion, says to Rasulullah in the dream, Ya Rasulullah, please just right now take me with you in the grave. I don't want to be alive in this dunya anymore. Rasulullah says, but you still have the ultimate thawab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala waiting for you, and you have to save this religion. And that can only be done through shahada. You will join us soon, but just not tonight. He wakes up, he tells his family the entire story, and they start feeling this is coming now. We're going to lose the final member of Ahl-ul-Kisa. We lost Rasulullah, but we still had Imam Ali alayhi salam. We had Fatima al-Zahra, but we still had Imam Ali alayhi salam. Imam Ali alayhi salam dies. Okay, well at least we have Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Imam Hassan alayhi salam dies, and now who do we have left? We just have you, Ya Aba Abdullah. After you, yes, we still have an Imam, but we don't have that original lineage that saw Rasulullah, that lived in Medina with him. Who will we have after you? This is why Karbala is so big. We lost the final member of Ahl-ul-Kisa, minus Jibreel. He goes and gives his final farewell to the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. And then, brothers and sisters, he has one more farewell to do on a night like that. And that is a grave that only he knows, and the Imams know where that is. And that is the grave of his mother, Fatima az-Zahra, salamullah alayha. That grave, only he can understand how much pain that broken rib of Fatima az-Zahra. In the final moments when she was in sujood and she couldn't breathe, and he comes on her body and he says, Ummi kallimini, mother, it is me, your Hussein, talk to me. This is the two goodbyes that we have to do tonight, because now Imam Hussein alayhi salam goes onwards towards Mecca. And after this, he will never come back in this dunya to Rasulullah and Fatima az-Zahra again. This is it for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. This is it for him in Medina. على لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Raise your hands, brothers and sisters, in dua. With these tears, brothers and sisters, many in the community have asked us specifically by name on these nights. They've waited. Please remember me in your du'as, I'm in the hospital. Please remember me in your du'a, I need a job. Please remember me in your du'as, I need a marriage proposal for my daughter to come through. They have all waited for these nights. Let's not forget them in these nights with the holy ayah of the Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه. Louder, louder, everyone. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء لقضاء الحوائج. أما يجيب Final time. لتعجيل الفرج. أما اللهم إنا ندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم. 10 times, everyone. يا الله 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 يا الله. إلهي بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها اغفر ذنوبنا، اكشف عنا السوء يا الله، ارحم ذنوبنا واكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار مع محمد وآله الأطهار. ولتعجيل الفرج لصاحب العصر والزمان اقرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة مشفوعة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين.